Okay, here with Plaxo's Joseph Smarr talking about today's big news around OpenID. So what's the story?
Today is such a big day for OpenID because Yahoo is now an OpenID 2.0 provider for its entire user base. So I mean, this is really the day that OpenID went mainstream. This is the this is sort of OpenID. If you haven't followed the history of it, it's been this sort of grassroots open standards, a bunch of sort of privacy and security and user experience people coming together and saying, rather than having separate usernames and passwords on every site, how can we give people a real durable, portable digital identity that's secure, that you can take around from site to site and say, I'm the same person? And it started very bottoms up and started to get sort of more and more support for it. But this is like one of those watershed moments where we always say, oh well, once Yahoo supports OpenID, that was the caricature. That's when we'll really have made it. And that day is today. So I mean. It's OpenID 2.0, which just got ratified last December, and in fact, Yahoo and others had a lot of input on how to make it extra secure and extra usable. So for a site like Plaxo, for example, we also support OpenID 2.0, and so you can just go to Plaxo, and well, I guess it'll be live later this month, but you can go click just sign in with my Yahoo ID. You don't even have to know what OpenID is. Just sign in with my Yahoo ID. You go to Yahoo, you sign in like normal, and it says, hey, do you trust Plaxo? Yeah, and you come back, and all of a sudden, we create an account for you, but it's tied to your Yahoo ID. You sign in with your Yahoo ID, and the accounts are linked, and you can just, now you can set up sync with your address book and calendar, you can share your Flickr photos, all that kind of stuff in a secure and portable way. And now you go to some new site, you can keep doing that. And all these sites are going to start supporting OpenID now because it's one of these classic chicken and egg things where once you get over the hump, everybody's going to want to do it. And so this is really the building block that makes a true open web possible. If you think about all the stuff that people want to do with sharing and connecting to their friends, in sort of Web 1.0, it just really didn't happen. And people said, oh, you're going to need all this identity and privacy and security and data transport and portability, and it's too complicated. And then the sort of the early days of Web 2.0 came along, and I think a lot of people said, oh, well, for a lot of this data, why don't we just make it all public? Let's make our photos public, and let's make our Twitters public, and let's make our stories public, and our bookmarks public. And, that at least, it's not very, private or secure, but for the stuff that we don't care that much about, then at least it solves all the identity problems because I can just sort of share it with anybody that can come up and see it. And clearly that was a lot better than not doing anything, and that's where that sort of initial flurry of social attention came from. But it's pretty clear that for a lot of data, for sharing photos with your family or for discussing articles within your company, you really do need some of that strong layer of privacy. And now we're actually starting to see, you might, I don't know, it's cheesy to call it Web 3.0, but where you're actually getting those building blocks where you can do the real vision we've always wanted to do. And I just think the number of people who are going to be able to take advantage of it is an order of magnitude higher than the people who are sharing things today. So very exciting times.
Cool. And obviously this is big news that Yahoo is both supporting OpenID and making it consumer friendly. What's Plaxo's role in all of this?
So Plaxo's consumes OpenIDs that the Yahoo produces and other people. And we've been, I guess, one of the sort of larger advocates and early implementers and champions of OpenID. And we worked closely with Yahoo to build the support for them. So we're sort of one of their main interop cases and their launch partner. And it's nice we're featured in the press release together and so forth. So I think they've been great. And that's one of the things that's been amazing about the OpenID community is you have people from these sort of big companies like Yahoo coming to meet with us sort of scrappy open web people and sort of saying, how can we really make this work in a way that's going to be secure enough, for our massive user base with our, attack surface and so forth, and then to actually go and work on it and do it together. So it's just a great. That's why Silicon Valley is the best place to be for this. I mean, these people just come together and make it happen.
Cool.
And so I mean, I think now we're in a great position to help other companies do the same thing because we've got sort of a case where it really works and it's really useful and it is a mass consumer user base. So that sort of, can you get over the hump of it being a kind of geeky feature to being something that sort of just works and is almost under the hood for people? I think now I'd say we've crossed the hump and now it's just going to get everybody else on board. It's going to be a comfortably easy task.
Cool. One last question. Some of the early coverage seems to raise questions about security. Is OpenID something that we should be worried about or excited about?
Oh, well, that's one of the great stories. Like I said, the people who started OpenID did it because they weren't happy with the level of security on the web today, and they wanted to set something up with extra cryptography and privacy and checking and permissions so that you could really do it the way they envisioned it. And so OpenID in general is going to be much more secure than having separate usernames and passwords on all these different websites, because by sort of centralizing your identity to one place, it can really do a good job of proving who you are. In addition to username and password, you could imagine using one of those RSA secure ID IDs, or having a client cert, or getting an SMS and having to reply to it, or it can check, put something in your browser. And so there's all these ways, if you just have to log in one place and the other places know how to trust you because there's good security there, then you can do a much better job of securing that entry point. Whereas if you have to log in on every separate website and they're totally different, most companies don't have the technical know-how or the resources to do a great job of making that really secure experience. So I think that's going to be one of the real success stories here.
Cool. Thanks, Joseph.
Yeah.